day 8 of Invictus Launch Week 2955. And we've got Valkyrie V2 launching today. It's Anvil Day. And the Anvil Asgard is the new ship to release. And honestly, guys, I am actually really surprised at how hyped people are for this ship. I didn't think this was going to be a particularly exciting ship just because it's very similar to the Valkyrie. But I think, if anything, this ship's release and the excitement surrounding it just goes to show how much the function over form really matters. I mean, it's a good looking ship. The Valkyrie's always been a good looking ship. I like the Valkyrie mostly, kind of. I mean, my thing with the Valkyrie isn't so much I don't know what I don't like about the Valkyrie, but it doesn't quite get me. I appreciate the front little like intakes look like the dropship from Alien, and just overall it has that vibe to it. But there was something about just like the general blocky shape of it that didn't really fit with me. The Asgard actually looks better, in my opinion, with the thrusters up here. Like, it makes the silhouette more interesting, but like, why would you put thrusters there? I totally get that. So in terms of form, like the ship might be a little bit unorthodox with some practices, but I think it does look better than the Valkyrie. And it's dedicated mainly to vehicle transport. They can't resist making it look like a dropship and having infantry coming out the back, because what's the Valkyrie, right? But this thing seems to be mostly focused on vehicles. So let's look at the page, check out the pricing, all that stuff, and then we'll check out the Q&A, and I'm sure they released a trailer, so we'll finish with that. This is a heavily armored vehicle dropship equipped for boundless resilience in the hottest combat zones. You hear that? Hot combat zones. Power through relentless fire to deliver vital reinforcements, hold the front line, and keep the enemy retreating. Okay. Doesn't really tell too much. Deliver fierce war machines to the front line, including a single Nova tank or several smaller ground vehicles, whether they're the first wave of attack or crucial reserves. So that's kind of the first selling point with this. I think this is the biggest or the smallest ship that can carry things like the Spartan and the Nova, which is, I think, where a lot of people are getting their excitement for this from. You can basically do with this what you could do with a C2, but you don't have to carry a C2 around anymore. And that's not bad. I mean, making 2 trips instead of 1 isn't that big a deal. With its impressive array of missiles, pilot weapons, and manual turrets, the Asgard makes light work of enemy forces standing between it and the drop zone. And this is really because CIG cannot help itself to put a ship in some kind of combat concept art where it's fighting other ships. It's like a rule of physics, almost a law of physics. You can't release a ship without a combat picture of it. Literally, the luxury passenger transport, the Crusader E1. I'm not exaggerating. The Crusader E1 has a concept image of it in battle. Why? Why is this? What is this? I can't even show you guys because I have all of my screen it's been formatted for the podcast. I can't get a good picture of it, but you guys can kind of see it over here on the right side. Like, why is there just combat for every single ship? The Asgard makes sense. I'm not going to actually ding them for that. But generally, I'm like, this is a ship I don't want to get into a dogfight in, I imagine. I don't know. Anyways, good looking. Definitely very useful. Can transport basically any ground vehicle in the game. So you got guaranteed functionality. 48 meters in length, 34 in width, 180 SCU of cargo, compared to, what does the Valkyrie have? The Valkyrie carries 90 SCU. Holy crap. So you're doubling your storage capacity. You got one dual size 3. So you got two size 3s on the turret. And then you got 4 size 3 mounts. Guessing those are the 4 size 3 mounts, I'm guessing, are like the side on the doors here, and then the 2 size 3s of the pilot weapons. And then you got some missiles too, 16 of them, size 3. So it's pretty cool. It comes with some skins and things. Sand Sea, ooh, that looks good. But I like things with red on them. Savannah and Valhalla, witness me. All right, here we go. Pricing, $325. $325 for your cash price, $350 for store credit, 10-year insurance on that $350. Sounds like a solid getting game to me, but I don't spend your money based on what I say. Some people really, really need this. Some orgs really need this. Like, this will be a valuable ship, and I'm guessing they think they're going to see a lot of these go out. But we'll be testing this out today. We'll fly it around a little bit on stream and see how good it actually is at taking on fire and whatnot. But this is the Anvil Asgard. Let's see what kind of common questions they had in... Oops. Let's see what kind of common questions they had in mind for the people who were buying this. What is the key difference between the Valkyrie and the Asgard? In what situations might a player choose one over the other? CIG answers, the primary difference is that the Asgard chassis has been extended to accommodate the onboard storage of a single Nova tank-sized vehicle, or one of the Anvil Atlas chassis family. This is like a really... It's interesting that they use vehicles to describe size. I mean, I guess that makes the most sense for backers than some technical term. But one thing I really understood with the MTC, and this was something I talked about in the video I released this week reviewing the MTC, but it is, they very specifically have to make a vehicle or a ship larger than a certain size so that it doesn't end up being too easy to use. Because they very specifically made sure the MTC does not fit in a vehicle or a ship that is the same size that would fit a Cyclone. And you can tell. Very annoying. Because the MTC would be amazing if it fit in the same things as a Cyclone, but then I guess people wouldn't really use a Cyclone as much. So, I don't know. Balancing. CIG also says here that the expense of crew accommodations and drop seats, which the vehicle houses, is kind of a downside of the Asgard. The crew requirement for the Asgard is lower than the Valkyrie, as some weapons are slave to the pilot, allowing for significant forward-facing firepower. In comparison, the Valkyrie's turrets provide greater coverage in all arcs beyond the front. They recently upped the firepower on certain ships forward-facing. You guys remember that? Which ships were those? That was that Star Citizen 4.1 or 4.1.1? I think it was 4.1. That might have been 4.1.1. When did dude, there's too many updates now. I can't even keep track. When did 4.1.1 come out? Ship balancing. Okay, yeah, here, this is it. So, modified several ships to behave as if the turrets are slaved by default. Reclaimer, Valkyrie, Raft, Starlifter, and... I said Carrick instead of Valkyrie. Gave it away. The Valkyrie's wing guns got slaved by default. So, can anyone confirm, does the Valkyrie's wing weapons fire with the pilot? In which case, why is the Asgard being said to have more forward-facing firepower? Is that true? Now I'm confused. Look at this. Look at this. What did I say, man? Look at their freaking concept art for these ships. They just love putting their ships in danger and being like, you're in danger. This is why people are so scared of Star Citizen. Just constantly getting shot at by Buccaneers. It's always the Buccaneers, too. 6 size 3s for the pilot, plus the 16 size 3 missiles. Wait, hold on. The Asgard has 6 size 3s for the pilot? Oh, because each of the size 3s, okay, there's 2 of them. So I'm seeing... What am I seeing here? This is weird. This turret setup is like a little disorienting. Is this a turret above another turret right here? Is that what I'm seeing? Valk owners kind of got scuffed on this one. Dude, I said it in the video I released yesterday that the later your ship gets made, the better, but it's only becoming more and more true as we go further down the line of Star Citizen's development. It's just better to not get the ship they're selling right now. And somebody actually said this, I think it was maybe Execute on InfoRunners the other day. He was basically saying that a company is incentivized to make the ships better as they go on. to creep the power as they go on, because people will be more incentivized to buy it more. My thing is like, at some point, the people who spent money on all these things, who bought with real world cash, are gonna feel screwed over. Just naturally, that's how it has to happen, right? You're paying a premium for a ship that inevitably is going to end up being easier to get as time goes on. It naturally depreciates in value, right? So the people who are getting it in 5 years are going to get it or something equivalent for a lot less than the money value that's perceived right now. That's why it's like, when you want to spend money on this, do it because you want to help the game. And I mean, maybe if you don't want to have to deal with earning the ship back in real life, but it's good to know. If you got a ship like that, eventually it's going to end up feeling underpowered for what it is, even if they update it to be in line with the rest of the game, just because like the actual practices of how they build the game are getting better and smarter. These ships are getting better designed and more well thought out. It's weird. It's weird. It's kind of a bummer. But that doesn't make the other ships, the old ships, not useful. They're still amazing and useful and fun. It's just, there's depreciation. How many people can be accommodated in the Asgard dropship? How many when a Nova tank is loaded? They said there are no dedicated drop seats in the Asgard, so the crew requirement is only 2 players, either being the pilot and a second player to operate the manual lower turret. So you lose that upper turret on this ship, which is like right above the ladder that you used to normally get up in the Valkyrie, but you keep that lower turret in the drop section down below. If the Asgard pilot is alone without a gunner, how many forward-facing weapons can they operate? The 6 forward-facing S3s, as was said in chat, along with the top-mounted missile rack. So this, man, that right there means this ship is, no wonder people are excited. This ship is going to be so freaking common. 6 forward-facing size 3s, plus an entire top-mounted missile mount. Yeah, missiles are mid right now, of course, but just putting this in comparison to other ships, I mean, what is this, a medium ship? How long do we say this was? 48 meters? Something like that? Yeah, 48 meters long, 6 size 3. Dude, if this was shaped like a mantis or something, it would be an incredibly amazing medium fighter, or maybe even a heavy fighter. But it's bulky because it wants to carry stuff in the back. I wonder unladen how well this thing flies. That'll be fun to test out. See how this does in dogfights. Are the 2 size 4 manual gunner turrets able to fire in an arc, or are they fixed to face forward? The manual gunner turrets can rotate 360 degrees with good downward facing angles. The Asgard has significant amount of forward facing weaponry rather than multiple turrets covering all angles of defense. What was the reasoning behind this design choice? CIG answered, we wanted there to be gameplay differences between the Asgard and other dropships like the Valkyrie. It was a conscious design decision to provide most of the firepower as forward-facing to distinguish the Asgard amongst those other ships. But like, the thing is, that makes the Asgard incredibly more valuable than the Valkyrie. Because it's just, in the current game, it's more valuable to have forward-facing fire than to have turrets. If they can find a way to make turrets in this game, I don't know. I think they need to make turrets genuinely overpowered in this game in order to make these multi-crew situations make sense. Everybody's saying it. Morph put a great video out about it yesterday, but like he's not the only one. They've done a lot to make turrets more fun to use. Take me back like 4 years, and it was just the worst thing in the world to be put in a turret in this game. It was so miserable, dude. Like, put aside the desync and stuff, it was just, the aiming functionality of it was so bad, and they've done a lot to make it better. It's so much better now. But yeah, we just need to have more natural incentives to put people in turrets, because as the game is now, this just makes the Asgard way better than the Valkyrie, because all anybody cares about is shooting forward. And there are a lot of things that are supposed to be put into this game to make that matter. So I'm not saying they're on the wrong path. It's just like, we really got to start seeing that. What was the reasoning behind equipping the Asgard with 16 size 3 missiles? The missiles were added to provide some ability to tackle threats outside of the front arc. However, missile lock is only possible from the pilot's view. What? Hold on. Did I hit my head? The missiles were added to provide some ability to tackle threats outside of the front arc. However, you can only target from the pilot's view. Yeah, I guess like the front firing arc is basically like your front 150 degrees that you can see. But I mean, if you have a missile turret, I don't know. I feel like there's not another seat to control it. So they built a turret there that could have very easily been, it could have been piloted by another co-pilot or some kind of utility seat in the back. But instead it's linked to the pilot no matter what, is a very interesting choice. Maybe it's not gimbaled. Yeah. Maybe it's, I don't know. It could be cool. Here's a situation in which I feel like this would be really cool. Is if they do allow us to track and share targets that are outside of the range of our friends. So like if I'm in a terrapin and I can see 40 kilometers away that there's like a vehicle on the ground and they're in an Asgard and they can only see 20 kilometers away and they're facing the other direction, like they can still target my target because I can share that target with them. Otherwise, I'm thinking like, why would you not make this a turret that can swivel in directions, especially as a combat dropship that like you're going to want to look around while you're landing. I don't know. That's an interesting choice. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like you want to be able to shoot people in any direction if you've got the ability to. We'll see. Can you provide examples of mission roles or scenarios that the Vanguard is intended for? What? What kind of question is that? The Asgard excels in missions that require transporting ground vehicles and cargo, either together or independently. With its large rear ramp, loading and unloading cargo is simple. That literally sounds like them being like, hey, what missions are coming in 4.3 that are going to make use of this ship? Hey, what's the main story of the game and what missions can I use an Asgard for it? Obviously, this is going to excel in missions where you have to transport a vehicle. I think that's pretty fair. What missions are those? Hey, to be honest, I just uploaded some gameplay of the Asgard to Space Tomato Plays. If you guys want to see this in-game right now and you can't wait until the stream in a couple hours, you can check that out. I put the MTC in the Asgard. We went and ran a couple missions, one mission. And honestly, I think it's great for that kind of thing. It's just like pretty obvious. Does the Asgard retain the lateral doors from the Valkyrie? Yes, it does. Does the pilot have good visibility beneath them to aid in landing troops? Is there an MFD landing camera system? Are these aren't actual questions, right? These are questions that CIG came up with, or did they actually get these questions from the community? Who's asking if there's an MFD landing camera system? That's so funny. Could you imagine if they just like snuck in one of the most asked for features in the last 8 years just randomly into this ship release? That would be amazing. I would love that. Please do that, CIG. Can the 4 thrusters on the Asgard transition to VTOL mode? Yes, they can. Is it possible to apply the Valkyrie paints to the Asgard? No, it is not. And you know what? That's a good call on their part because it sounds like there's a lot of discontent with the way that they've handled the Guardian versus the MX. And it seems like if they're going to have 2 different types of chassis apply the same paint, they should not advertise one over the other. So yeah, make them exclusive, whatever. It's a different chassis. So be it. They might address this because they are now actively working on it. I mean, maybe. I don't think they would do it in a Q&A first, though. That would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I would love that. But I think that that's a real hype feature. They might want to tease that first.